The film begins with an empty house where an entity already resides. We see the house from the entity's perspective. After observing the house, the entity moves upstairs and hides inside a cupboard. When a family comes to visit the house, the entity descends. The woman named Rebecca arrives with her family to see the house, and despite it being beyond her budget, she decides to purchase it. The reason for her decision is that the house is very close to her son Tyler's school. Tyler is a professional swimmer, and Rebecca wants him to compete at the national level. She does not want anything to hinder his training. However, Rebecca's husband is unhappy with her decision because he believes their daughter, Chloe, is not ready for such a big change. Chloe had recently lost a friend, and she was still struggling to cope with the trauma. But Rebecca did not seem concerned about her daughter's feelings at all. As Rebecca and her husband discuss these matters while looking at the house, the entity listens to their conversation. The moment the entity realizes that Rebecca is going through an emotional crisis, the entity starts following Rebecca. We see her standing near a mirror, which the house owner had told her was a Ghani mirror and was almost 100 years old. Meanwhile, Chloe goes into a room while exploring the house, where she feels as if someone is watching her from inside the cupboard. The scene cuts, and we see that painting work has begun in the house. However, many of the laborers have already left because they believe there is a presence in the building, some kind of entity. A few days later, Rebecca's family moves into the house. Rebecca is on a phone call, and we learn that she committed fraud in her own company to make the down payment for the house. She does not feel guilty about it, as she believes that doing anything for her loved ones is justified. At this point, we see Chloe. She is completely alone, crying by herself. Eventually, she falls asleep while crying. As soon as she drifts off, she senses someone near her. Startled, she quickly gets up from the bed and starts walking toward the cupboard. She asks, "Natia, is that you?" Chloe felt that this was her friend's soul who had come to stay with her. However, the entity did not say anything. The next day, we see that Chloe had spread all her books across the bed while studying. She then got up and went to take a shower. Meanwhile, the soul entered her room and looked at a picture of Chloe and her friend Nadia. After that, it neatly arranged all the scattered things in the room. When Chloe came out and saw everything in order, she screamed in fear. How had this happened? Then she realized that it must have been Nadia helping her. At this point, she stopped being afraid of the soul. Hearing her scream, her dad rushed into the room and asked what had happened. Chloe lied, saying that she had just seen a rat. She did not want to tell her father that her friend's soul was there. Chloe's dad then went downstairs and discussed Chloe's condition with Rebecca. He told her that Chloe was not okay. Her friend had died due to a drug overdose, and now another girl in the city had been murdered. He insisted that they needed to take care of Chloe. However, Rebecca seemed completely indifferent. She even told her husband, "I think you're overthinking." At that moment, their son Tyler arrived home, bringing his friend Ryan along. Tyler introduced Ryan to his family and to Chloe. Ryan was instantly attracted to Chloe, but Tyler warned him not to befriend his sister. That night, Rebecca and her husband discussed Chloe's situation again. Chloe's father believed that she needed to see a therapist, but Rebecca became angry and insisted that all Chloe needed was time. This frustrated her husband, who snapped at her, reminding her that Chloe was just as much her daughter as Tyler was. The next day, while Chloe was home alone, Ryan, Tyler's friend, came over to see Tyler. Chloe offered him a drink and invited him to her room. At first, Ryan refused, saying that Tyler had told him not to enter her room. However, despite his words, he eventually stepped inside. The two of them, then Chloe and Ryan, take drugs together, and Chloe shares her sorrow with Ryan. She tells him how lonely she has felt since her friend's death. Ryan listens curiously and admits that he has never lost anyone close to him. He says, "I don't know how it feels when someone dies. Tell me, how does it feel?" Chloe, eager to share her pain with someone, starts opening up. As they continue talking, they grow closer to each other. Ryan also shares his struggles, how no one in his family cares about him, not even his mother, who is extremely toxic. Before they could get even closer, the entity in the room becomes restless. It doesn't like what's happening, and suddenly, the cupboard breaks. Startled, they jump up in fear. Ryan assumes that the cupboard must have had a loose hinge, which caused it to break, but Chloe knows better. She realizes that the soul is responsible for this. As she approaches the cupboard, she feels a strong gust of wind on her face, which terrifies her. That's when she understands. It is Nadia warning her to stay away from Ryan. Since strange things were happening, Chloe finally decides to tell her family the truth. At the dinner table, she asks everyone, "Have you ever felt something unusual in this house? Like a presence? Do you ever feel that someone else is living here with us, even though we can't see them?" Hearing this, her brother, Tyler, thinks she's crazy. He says, "Your friend's death has really messed with your mind. What are you even talking about?" His words make Chloe burst into tears. Her father scolds Tyler for being insensitive, but Tyler gets angry and storms off. Their mother also leaves the table. Later, following their father's advice, Tyler goes to apologize to Chloe. However, Chloe is still upset and angrily kicks him out of her room. Frustrated, Tyler complains to his father again, but his dad explains, "Chloe is in shock. You need to be more understanding and take care of her." However, Tyler seems completely indifferent. Meanwhile, he shamelessly tells his mother about a prank he played on a girl, how he leaked her private photos. Tyler's mother does not scold him for what he did. However, the presence in the house, the soul, does not take this lightly. As punishment, the entity enters Tyler's room and starts wreaking havoc. It knocks over everything, his trophies, his mug, and all his belongings. Chloe is the first to hear the noises and rushes to the room. Soon, the rest of the family follows. Everyone is utterly shocked by what they witness. Fear grips them all, and they rush outside. Chloe also steps out and tells them, "This is no one else. It's my friend, Nadia. She has come to stay with me. You don't have to be afraid of her." However, Tyler and his mother are too terrified to go back inside. Though they now believe Chloe was telling the truth and that an entity really exists in the house, they are unwilling to return. Chloe's father, however, stands by her side. He convinces everyone to go back inside. Once they are back in the house, Rebecca's husband calls the woman through whom they purchased the house. He asks her, "If there was an entity here, why did you sell us this house?" The woman responds, "There was no entity here before, but if you feel that something is present, I can send my sister-in-law. She's a psychic and helps people deal with such situations." Rebecca's husband agrees. The next afternoon, the psychic arrives at the house. The moment she steps inside, she feels a gust of wind against her face. Immediately, she realizes that the house is indeed haunted and that an entity is present. After observing a few things, she gathers everyone and confirms there is a presence here and it is suffering, just like Chloe. She explains, just as Chloe is in distress after her friend's death, this entity is also going through its own torment.